I have a customer that is losing 324 litres of mains water every hour for the last 6 months. Now, they live in this building behind. There's also 10 other flats or apartments in this building. Nobody can find out what the problem is. Severn Trent, the water board, have been out. They confirm there's 324 litres being pumped out somewhere, but nobody can find it. None of the 10 residents have got any signs of a water leak anywhere, but there is definitely a leak because the meter is constantly spinning and the water board have confirmed that there's a leak. Now, the property has a massive, huge lake over here, and it's as if this is being filled up by the water main that is leaking. However, I think I have found out exactly what the problem is. And at the end of this video, we're going to fix that problem and save the customer hundreds and hundreds of pounds a month on the water leak that they've got in this building. I'm Mark, this is Real World Plumbing. First of all, let's go and do some jobbing jobs and then get back and find out exactly what is going on here. We are out jobbing about, as always, when the time of year comes when heating systems go on. People find out valves are leaking, pumps are passing, and zone valves are sticking. So what we're going to do on this one is, let me quickly show you, rad valve change. The customer said that he came to open up this rad valve. Where is it? There we go. Opened it up to obviously get heat into the radiator, and water started. No, what did he say? It wasn't coming warm, so he thought he'd pop the top off, see if he could sort the pin out. I think he's pulled the pin out completely and water's going everywhere, or he's pushed it in, one of the two. In fact, I think it was. I think he said he pushed it in because if it had come out, he could have put it back in. He's pushed it in and the pin's just disappeared and water's coming out the top. So he's clearly got a rubber glove and a screw. Fair play to him, screwed it in, stopped the leak. So we've got to change that radiator valve, but that means you've got to drain the whole heating system. So we've got the hose on the heating system downstairs. We're draining the heating down, and once we've dropped, luckily this is upstairs, once we've dropped this, we're going to swap the valve out for a new one and get it sorted. So with the water draining down out of this rad, hopefully we can get away with doing this valve without dropping the water out of all the other rads in the system. We'll see how we get on, but I'm going to unscrew. I mean, how good a little fix is that? Obviously the rubber in the glove is going to be binding onto the thread. Oh yeah, I see what you mean there. It's just coming out. Obviously with it draining down, that will soon stop. So what I'll do is just crack this valve, and then we can see when we're completely drained from this point. Oh, that's tight. Being on microbore as well, shouldn't be too bad to swap out because it just doesn't hold as much pressure in it. Just tighten that back on there. Get some purchase on that. Typical new build with what we may be able to do is reuse that because it's on 10mm. Just pop some paste on it. Otherwise, the reason being, because if we try and cut that fitting off, it's going to reduce the depth of the pipework that we've got. Let's pop a little bit on there as well. And hopefully it should work its way on. You may have to just switch out that tail because for some reason it doesn't want to connect on. See that one goes straight in. That one, it's just struggling to go on for some reason. So let's switch that tail out quickly. Just odd that it wouldn't fit on that. Very strange. Right, let's get some PTFE tape wrapped around this tail and get it swapped out. That's better. There we go, simple as that. Let's now get the vent turned off, because they're the ones that you always forget to turn off. So we do this one. I've opened the towel rail one in the bathroom, then we'll go down, turn the drain off on the rad, get the water back on and fill it up and give it a little test to make sure the heating's coming through with the tiny little HIC micro thermal imaging camera that will plug into my phone. So it comes in a little neat little case like that, and there it is. That's it. Now this will plug straight into the bottom of your mobile phone. So if I open up the HIC micro app, and then that just plugs straight into the bottom. Make sure that obviously that's the camera bit at the front. Turn that round, plug it in the bottom of your phone like so, and then it will connect. Job done. That is it. Job done. So we've got the rad there. If I put the thermal imaging camera on it, you can see the valve there. So obviously the camera's connected in the bottom there. The valve is there. Obviously a little bit warm where it would have had a little bit of residual heat, but then it's really cold that end. So when we turn the heating back on, so it gets to sort of, because what it's going to do, it's going to pick up the heat in the rad. And you see where it's yellow at the bottom, that's a little bit of heat coming through. But what I'm going to go and do is turn the heating on, then you'll see the heat begin to come through the rad at the bottom.
Want another drink, Mark?
No, I'm all good, thanks, Mark. Cheers. So with the heating system filled back up now, I've had this rad turned off because I wanted to show you the heat coming in it with that thermal imaging camera. So if we just open the lock shield up, we'll probably have a little bit of air in this one as well. Let's get that fully open, and then if we open up, let's just see if there's any heat coming through at the minute. Yeah, look, you can see a little bit of heat in the bottom there, but it's going to be full of air as well. So let's open this side up and it will show us the heat coming in the bottom, just along the bottom of the rad and then over to there. So if we now start filling it up, but the good thing with this is as well, if we switch to camera there, like so, I can now record everything on the app. Recording at the top, so let's get some heat into this rad. So yeah, you'll see it building up at the bottom. Like that. You see up there, look, is where the heat, so the heat level at the minute is here, and then obviously it's going to rise up to there. Perfectly timed. But now with the heating on, we'll see it begin to warm this rad up from the bottom there, look. And also you can put it on, so you see in the top corner, max 36 degrees. You can see, I don't know if you can pick up, well it's recording so I'll put it on the screen anyway. You can see that little crosshair, that's picking up the hottest part of the rad. So as it goes up to the top and then across, you can see the the bars of the rad warming up. You can see how much of my cup of tea I've drank. Half of it. But it will also pick up cold spots in the room. Obviously the top corners of your room are going to be cold. And then sometimes if the heat's coming through the floor enough, obviously down here, see if we can pick up the pipe work in the wall. I don't think you can. So I've had the heating on a little bit now and this rad is getting nice and warm. Let me show you again with the thermal imaging. What I've done, I've put, there's like a little, let's see if I can find it. There's a little centre crosshair. Don't know if you can pick it up on this camera, but you'll see it when I press the record button and when I put this footage up on the screen. But you can see the rad. This side is really warm. It looks like it's massively different heat sort of output, but it's not, because if you look where that crosshair is there on the lightest or the darkest colour bit, which will be the coldest bit, it's 38 degrees, and then up the top there it's 48 degrees. So the heat's coming through, but it just goes to show that there may be a bit of debris in that bottom bit of the rad. So I'll just mention it to the customer, because if you look on the right hand side there, all those bars are getting really warm. Just might need a good system flush on it, but it isn't too bad. It's not enough to massively worry it. Sometimes you get huge arcs in the bottom and that's when you've got real big problems, but it's heating up nice. Well, at least it's working now as well, because we've fitted the new valve down in the corner. But yeah, the Hick Micro thermal imaging mini V2 that plugs into the bottom of the phone is perfect for this sort of thing. Right, let's hand this back over to the customer and get on with the next job. More typical jobbing jobs. This one is the bread and butter job for any plumber, and faulty toilet. So customers run me up, this valve is sticking open and obviously shut sometimes, so they'll go to flush it, empty that, and it won't fill back up. And then they've also said that this is passing into the pan every now and again. I've put the little tissue test in there, but they said they left it for, they went away for 4 or 5 days, they come back, the system was completely empty. So obviously working with Thomas Dudley, I'm going to swap it out for a HydroFlow and a dual flush. You could unclip that, put a new one in, and obviously we've got to replace that completely, but for the sake of it, let's put some Thomas Dudley products in there, then the customer knows it's done properly. So first of all, get the water off, get it disconnected. Luckily we've got fairly new wing nuts under the bottom. It's just these rusty ones here, but can't win them all. So with that flushed out, got all the water out there, we've always got that last little bit in the bottom. Aquavac, always use it, it's dead handy. It just takes that little bit of water out the bottom. So when you split it, it saves it going everywhere, because it always will. You'll take that out and it'll just go there or on the floor. Wow, I thought that was going to just fall apart when I went to unscrew it, but got away with it. We will replace them, put new ones in. Well, dropped it down there now. Right, now what I want to do, this is fairly loose, is keep this rubber in position, because that's obviously moulded to the pan as it is. So if I can not disturb that, it'd be perfect. So get the old one out, put the new Thomas Dudley one in. And then pop that in there. Sorted. Right, let's whip out the fill valve. what I'll just do then is set that fill valve from the bottom of the cistern to roughly around the top, and then we can always tweak it with that nut there. Right, let's get these wing nuts back on, and then what I'll do before I screw it in at the top, I'll just connect the water back up and give it a test. But these nuts will hold the cistern down to exactly where it needs to be. So with the water back on, let's get it filled up and give it a quick test before we get the 2 screws in the back. But all should be fine, I think. There we go. I've adjusted the overflow as well, just so that it's above the existing waterline mark. Set the valve to shut off just where the old one was, and then what we do obviously is cut that down, and then we've still got to put the push button on. So we'll put the lid on, measure it, and then get the push button. But let's give it a test. Sorted, job done. And there you go, refilling back up. Right then, at the start of this video, I said to you that I'm here at a job for a customer and they are losing 324 litres of water every hour for the last 6 months. Now, they've had the water board out to it, they've had 7 Trent out of it, and they've confirmed there's a leak, but obviously their boundary is the incoming main, the tap, if you like, the shut off down in the street, or in this case in the courtyard, because it is in a huge listed building. So their problem finishes there. They can confirm that it's spinning, and they've also had a listen, and there is constant running of water going through this main. Now, the customer said to me, Mark, is there anything that can be? And I went, to be honest, losing 324 litres of water every hour is a tap running, or if there's a leak underground, especially as it's been going for 6 months, it would show up. I said, so without massive costing and time in putting into it to try and find it, bearing in mind there's 10 properties in this development, it's going to be a tough one. So anyway, interestingly enough, a few weeks ago, the same customer rung me up and said, Mark, there's a leak on a pipe in a roof, a waste pipe. Could you come and have a look at it and fix it for us? Basically, we've been and done that today. I didn't film it because I thought it was just an easy fix. However, this is where it gets interesting. So to obviously isolate this leak that was coming down in the soil pipe, it was as if when someone's having a shower, it was showing on a boss. I haven't got any pictures, and I should have took some when we was downstairs, but the customer's gone out now from the below flat, so he can't get in there. So the water was running into the soil pipe, and then it was showing itself on a strap boss on the side. It was leaking out the bottom of it. Fair enough, not a problem. It's leaking when a shower's being used or when a bath's being run. So I come to fix it today, said to the customer, have you got any showers running? Because I can still hear water trickling down through this soil pipe. He went, no, it might be the flat above, which is this flat. So I said, is anyone in? No, nobody's in. However, the customer owned the flat above this one. I said, let's just go up into your flat and check that there's nothing running, a tap's running. Because I can definitely hear water going down the soil pipe, and the leak was coming out of the boss that was cut into it. Nothing up there. So we came back into this flat here. Now, it could only have been coming from here. I've walked around downstairs, nothing's running. As I came up these stairs here, let me show you exactly what I was greeted with. So I'm walking up these stairs. These are the stairs here, and that airing cupboard's just here. Listen very closely. Hopefully that's coming across on screen. Can you hear it? I can hear running water. Now, as a plumber, you are sort of trained to hear water that's running or drips. Well, if I stand here, you can hear it even more. And if I put the camera inside here, you can hear it. So, this is with the mains on. This has been running for around 6 months. The customer hasn't picked up on it. I don't know how, why, but you could certainly hear that running. Bearing in mind there's a bedroom just there, and it would have been noticeable, shall we say. I can hear that. Listen to this. You can hear that running. Now, if I spin the camera around, there's a fundamental issue here, why it hasn't been picked up visually. So if I look at this, the tun dish is up here. Ideally that tun dish should be down here, 300mm down, and this should be going in above, so that if this pipe was running, it would show in this tun dish here. I'm going to rectify this at a certain date, but today we need to sort this issue out. You can hear it running. Now, what it turns out to be is this pressure reducing valve, or this pressure relief valve. So this is the pressure reducing valve and the incoming block. This pressure relief valve is letting by, and it's coming through here, into here, down, out, into the soil pipe, which in turn the soil pipe was leaking down, showing itself on the strap boss in the flat below and causing a leak. So this has been running for 6 months like this. So if I turn the main off, which is here, obviously the water's going to suck itself through, and in a second it will completely quieten down, because there's obviously no water now running out through the system, through the pressure relief, which is here. All is quiet. I mean, just the noise going from this without it running to before, surely the customer or the tenant in this flat would have noticed. Anyway, I've managed to find it. So now, with that shut off, we've been out and we've looked at the meter before the needle was spinning round. Now, nothing, it's not even moving. So that was the problem. What we've done, we've picked up a replacement valve. I'm just going to change the whole lot because this looks old anyway. So for the sake of just changing that, we'll just change the whole lot. It's just as easy. So changing this is going to save using 324 litres of water every hour, costing the customer God knows how many hundreds in the last 6 months. Who's to blame? Is it the tenant for not listening to that and not hearing that? Let me know in the comments. But we're here to get this changed out, and then we will rectify this at a later date. But for now, I just want to get this done, because I've said to the customer, look, I'll shoot off, grab that, and we'll get this sorted. At least we know that it's done. So with the water off, let's get this disconnected off here. It's fairly simple. You've got your nuts on there. It's a complete identical unit, like so. So we'll just undo the nuts off that one, get the new one on, and get the main back on. So it is just literally a case of cracking that. That's the cold main coming in, and then we've got balanced cold going out the side here. So we'll crack that as well. That one's cracked, and we'll disconnect the pressure relief, and then crack that as well. All hand loose. There shouldn't be any water in it, to be honest. Let's open. There won't be any water in it. There we go, one problem valve out. Let's get the new one in. Yeah, let's do the whole lot, shall we? So we'll pop the new nuts on, nut and olives on, and then obviously we'll paste it up as well while we're here. Then let's get some paste. So many people ask me about this paste. I think it's jet blue, or it's just paste off the shelf in plum base, just jointing compound paste. But just put a good amount on. You can't put too much on, to be honest, as far as I'm concerned. There we go. Right, let's get our new valve in. So the new combination block now is on, reconnected up. Let's turn the valve back on and make sure that that noise has stopped. So it's just refilling the system up now. So there we go, 324 litres an hour of mains water is now staying in the pipework where it should be, and also the customer is no longer having to pay God knows how many hundreds of pounds a month in lost water. So keep an ear out. If you hear a pipe running or water running through pipework, there's usually a reason for it. Hope you've enjoyed that. If you have, as always, give it a thumbs up, get subscribed to the channel, and I'll catch you on the next one.